Good morning, students. I hope by now you have received and read my email regarding not meeting in the classroom this morning. I would like you to watch this short presentation as one of the activities to make up for this lost time for not being able to meet in the classroom, okay, this morning. This is a very simple presentation, actually a little bit different presentation. It has to do with really mainly infant soya-based formulas. Okay, I'll go a little bit beyond formulas perhaps and discuss just briefly whether soya foods, that means soya beans, tofu, soya milk, other soya foods, miso, and so on, can be fed to children, and of course soya-based formula to infants. About 25% of all formulas used in the United States are soya-based formulas. And in some other countries, a good example is Israel, even a higher percentage of the formulas, infant formulas used are actually soya-based formulas. And so this is a substantial chunk of all the formulas being used in this country. And along with that, because of the composition, nutritional composition of soya beans, some concerns have been made regarding the safety of feeding infants with soya-based formulas and also feeding children with soya products. Actually, these concerns go beyond even childhood or beyond children. Some people are concerned that soya-based foods may pose a risk for developing or worsening some thyroid conditions, thyroid gland conditions, and also may increase risk of cancer, especially breast cancer and other cancers that are related to hormone synthesis. Okay, now we will deal with some of these later on in the semester, but again this morning I will be focusing mainly on soya-based formula and then feeding soya foods to children. In the past, in popular magazines, soya products and soybeans have been sort of praised and described as miracle food, and in these type of terms. And of course, we know there are no such things as miracle foods and superfoods and so on. A healthy diet is one that is based on or is composed of a variety of foods. And that means a variety of grains and a variety of beans, including perhaps soya beans, but also other beans and fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and so on, okay? Again, even though in the past soya was considered by some such, again, incredible foods, others came, and some of these others actually have advanced degrees, PhDs, and even perhaps some MDs and others, and that sort of questioned not only the validity of soya beans as health food, but also whether soya beans are actually safe. In fact, you can find one presentation on YouTube. A lady making the presentation makes an opening statement that goes something like, I have a news for you. Soya is not a health food. Soya has not even been proven safe, something to the effect. Some of these concerns that parents have regarding feeding infants with soya-based formulas and or feeding children with soya foods have been actually raised because of some of these, what I would call pseudoscientists or pseudo-health professionals. I will tell you why, and again, this presentation will be somewhat different because I actually have a number of quotes here that I will read to illustrate the issue with soybeans and soybean foods. The nature of the concerns has mainly to do with these compounds. Soybeans contain compounds that we call phytoestrogens, okay? And the main two, there are more than them, but the main two are genistein, and as you can see here, and also daisine, okay? Now, notice 4 different compounds are listed here on this slide. The compounds on the left, genistein and daisine, are purified phytoestrogens, but in nature, meaning in foods, just like in soybean, and by the way, soybeans are not the only foods that contain phytoestrogens, okay? We find them in other beans, we find them in flax seeds and other seeds, for example. It's just that soybeans contain more of them than other foods. On the right-hand side, we have, again, the form of these phytoestrogens that we find them in soybeans and in other foods. And notice that they are actually connected to, okay, glucose, okay, or sugar, okay. And what is interesting and what some of the people don't realize is that as long as genistein and daisine are linked to sugar, they do not exhibit estrogenic activity. That's why we call them phytoestrogens, okay, because they have similar activity to the estrogen than human beings produce. However, in order for them to do so, they have to be in this purified form that we see on the left-hand side. But in foods, they are consumed in or linked to a carbohydrate or sugar. Now, human beings do have the ability to digest them, and so the digestion would mean that the sugar molecule would be split off, but not all of the digestion take place. So a lot of these, or a big portion of these compounds will never be digested, meaning that the sugar will not be broken down from the rest of the compound. So that's an issue number one, okay? That when we ingest it with foods, we ingest it in a different form versus there are actually, not sure what happened here, sorry. There are actually some supplements of these compound genistein and daisine that can be taken as or in purified form. Well, again, these are the main concern: feeding infants with soy-based formula, and then feeding children, both male and female. Male, because parents are concerned that they will become sort of more like ladylike, sort of feminized, okay? And female, because they are concerned that girls will go through puberty early in life, okay? Again, some of the other issues we will revisit later on in the semester. So are soya-based formulas safe for infants, and are soya products safe for children, okay? Again, I will read a number of different quotes from people who actually studied these issues. This is the area of their study, and they know the issue well, know what they are talking about. So here's the first one, a paper published in 2009 in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, the health implications of soya-based formula. Feeding soya formulas to infants is shown to be, what does it say? Efficacious for normal growth and development. Okay. However, feeding soya formulas introduces the developing body to phytochemicals, phytoestrogens. This is different terms describing the same compounds that I introduced to you, are not present in breast milk or bovine milk or mother's formula. Is that I forget what this term means? Bovine breast milk or milk formulas. That's what it is. Sorry about that. So breast milk or milk formulas. Okay. Although many people are concerned about adverse effects of these phytochemicals, this concern is not supported by convincing data in children, adults, or appropriate animal models in which soya foods, including soya formulas, were studied. And then further, the translational research from the Arkansas Children's Nutrition Center supports the notion that early exposure to soya foods, including soya formulas, actually may provide health benefits rather than adverse effects. Example, improved body and bone composition and prevention of breast cancer later on in life. Okay? And so in this particular study, these authors do not find really any major concerns. Let's look at another one. This is from Pediatrics, which is the official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Use of soya protein-based formulas in infant feeding. Okay, here is another quote. Numerous toxicity studies in rats have demonstrated some effects of estrogen-related tissues, but overall maternal reproductive function and fetal development were unaffected. A recent study of the isoflavone, genistein, these compounds again are called phytoestrogen, phytochemicals, or isoflavones. These are three different terms for the same compound, genistein, daisine, and others. Demonstrated adverse consequences of neonatal exposure in mice. However, feeding of soya formula and not individual components has not demonstrated these adverse effects in animals. Okay, so what this quote is saying is that when one compound, one of these phytoestrogens, genistein, was isolated in and given to animals, some issues were noted. Okay, however, when you feed food, or in this case soya formulas, there was no issues. And by the way, the same is true of other foods. I mean, we can drink orange juice or have broccoli or eat potatoes or other vitamin C rich foods, and we find benefits from doing so. However, when vitamin C was given as a supplement to patients or to people, we find an increase in some cancer risks. And so we will actually revisit this again, and we will deal with cancer prevention later in this semester. So this is not exclusive to compounds found in soya, that when you isolate something from the food, you may actually see some problems. But when you feed food, actually the problems do not seem to be present, and perhaps some advantages may be even present. Another quote, analysis of maternal and cord plasma and amniotic fluid indicates placental transfer of these compounds after soya consumption. However, no deleterious effects were discerned in the fetuses of Japanese mothers with relatively high soya consumption. Now, this quote is important because the Japanese people have one of the highest intake of soya products in the world. Okay, Japanese and Chinese have the highest intake. Koreans would be next, and in fact they consume more than it's hard to estimate exactly the consumption, because the consumption varies from different parts of, say, Japan, where people live. But the estimate is that it is 10 to probably 30 or higher times higher than the consumption of soya products in the United States. Okay, and so again, the Japanese mothers have really high consumption, yet there were no issues that they found in the offspring of the Japanese mothers. Another quote: an increased incidence of feminization in male infants or an increased incidence of hypospadias in high soya consuming populations have not been observed. Okay, hypospadias is a condition of an opening of urethra in the wrong side of the penis in male children. And so this quote deals with some accusations raised by some people that soya product may actually contribute to or cause, but as this quote indicates, no such things were found in populations with relatively high consumption of soya products. Okay, further, available evidence from adult human and infant populations indicates that dietary isoflavone in soya infant formulas do not adversely affect human growth, development, or reproduction. This is from another manuscript published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2004. The safety of soya-based infant formulas containing isoflavones. Okay, and so this is a review of this particular issue. Another quote: recent in-depth reviews of the safety of dietary isoflavones in soya have found that there is no conclusive evidence from animal or human adult or infant populations that indicates that dietary isoflavones may adversely affect human health, development, or reproduction. And then further, comprehensive literature reviews and clinical studies of infant-fed soya-based infant formulas have resolved questions or raised no clinical concerns with respect to nutritional adequacy, sexual development, neurobehavioral development, immune development, or thyroid disease. Okay. Now, I do want to state, since this quote deals with nutritional adequacy, okay, that according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, soya-based formulas are perfectly fine for infants born at term. Okay. However, soya-based formulas are not adequate for infants that are born prematurely. Okay, I want you to remember this one. Okay, they are fine for infants born at term, but for those born prematurely, they are inappropriate. For infants born prematurely, they would have to receive specialized formulas. We will deal in a little bit more details on Tuesday about the different types of formulas, and one category of formulas is what we call specialized formulas. Okay, I will introduce you to several different types in this category at that time. As I mentioned in the very beginning, approximately 25% of the sales of formulas and the use of formulas is actually soya-based formula. Okay, these are some of the brands available in the United States in our stores, and you know, soya-based formulas are used by a variety of people. For example, Vegetarians oftentimes use it. Vegans definitely use it. But others also, such as those that their children were diagnosed with lactose intolerance, okay? And some people also that have infants that are sensitive or allergic to cow's milk protein may opt for this particular option, even though soya-based formula is not 100% a solution for these particular issues. This is because roughly 50% or so of infants that are allergic to cow's milk formula or cow's milk protein will also not tolerate soya-based formulas. Okay, I do have a short assignment. I already somewhat answered this, but this would be a homework assignment for you. Who should be receiving or fed soya-based formula? Okay, who should be receiving? Okay, now I'm not dealing here with preference. Again, if you are, say, a vegetarian, okay, you may have a preference to use this one, but there are actually some contraindicators of using cow's milk formula, cow's milk-based formula. So I want you to think about this particular question: who should be receiving, okay, this particular type of formula? Well, you cannot ask me questions, even if you had one, because I'm recording this rather than being in a classroom. But if you do have one, write them down, and I will do my best to answer the questions in the classroom. Okay, thank you.